I can see a manual control here for call recorder. And yeah, I'm recording. 7 seconds. Okay.
Very good. So.
Okay, good. So remember to stare right into the camera, and that way we get to see your eyes. And so my name is Sander Hicks, and I'm speaking here today with Emad Salem, who was born in Egypt and has a background with the Egyptian military and the New York FBI. He was famous as a kind of a whistleblower. He was an informant. He infiltrated the Jersey City mosque, which was convicted for the '93 World Trade Center bombing. However, independent investigators have always been very interested in what Emad Salem had to say about the Jersey City mosque and talked to his FBI handler, John Antisev, and said that the FBI was helping to build the bomb, and Emad Salem was later almost killed by the CIA. And that's what we talked about yesterday. So Imad, let's pick up where we left off yesterday in our preliminary conversation. We talked about the Blind Sheik, Abdul Rahman, and his relationship to Osama bin Laden. They fought together against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Why don't you tell us about that background?
Well, the Blind Sheik is the elected prince of jihad. His election was been done before 1980, and his rival at that time was Dr. Ayman al-Zawahri, who is the successor of Osama bin Laden at this time for Al-Qaeda group. They did the election in Egypt. Ayman al-Zawahri wanted to be the Prince of Jihad, but Sheikh Omar, due to his credentials in Islam, he have PhD in Islam from Al-Azhar University, and he was the one was elected to be the Prince of Jihad. So Osama bin Laden is a foot soldier in Dr. Omar Abdul Rahman's followers. There is a misperception to Osama bin Laden, and I think that the mainstream media had created that image for Osama bin Laden that he is the leader of Al-Qaeda. Actually, so many of our special agents in the FBI had the same wrong impression. But I had the privileges of going to the FBI Academy to give 5 hours presentation once a month to the JTTF, which stands for Joint Terrorism Task Force. And my class was between 100 to 150 agents. And I start with the question, who is the head of Al-Qaeda? And everybody, of course, answered Osama bin Laden. But the answer is no, that Osama bin Laden is just maybe the director of operation, the financial operation in Al-Qaeda. But the main leader who gave the fatwa is an Islamic order or Islamic judgment, is Dr. Omar Abdul Rahman, the Blind Sheik. And he had given a fatwa in 1980 to assassinate the president of Egypt, Anwar Sadat. I think at that time you were very young. I don't think you were.
I remember that. No, I remember Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat. We were studying that in grade school. But you're right. I was a schoolboy at that point, but I remember the assassination of Sadat. I know the background of the Blind Sheik also was involved in the killing of Nasser, right? Egyptian President Nasser, which is before my time. But Nasser was a popular populist leader in Egypt. I want to skip ahead a little bit and talk to you. Let's talk specifically about who was really responsible for the '93 World Trade Center bombing. I'm going to give you a quote from Andrew Marshall, who published this story in The Independent in November of 1998. And he said, a confidential CIA internal survey included that it was partly culpable for the World Trade Center bomb. According to reports at the time, there had been blowback. Now, we know when the Blind Sheik was brought into this country in 1990, it was on a CIA-sponsored visa because the Blind Sheik had been fighting in Afghanistan for the MAK, which was the Mujahideen and the intermediaries between CIA and the Pakistani ISI. So who was responsible really for the 93 World Trade Center bombing in your eyes?
Well, in what I have lived, because at that time I was completely, deeply covert among the Blind Sheik's followers for the FBI, the New York office. Actually, I was the bodyguard, or I worked my way out in the ranks until I became his personal bodyguard. And I used to go to his house, feed him, cook for him, do his dishes, take him to the bathroom, and take care of his things. And that gives me a big scope of information and allowed me to know how he communicates with Osama bin Laden on daily basis. One of the things I would like to clarify that Osama bin Laden is an aeroplane mechanic, have a diploma after high school in aeroplane mechanics, and he's a rich boy from a rich family from Saudi Arabia. He never received any education in Islam, therefore he cannot give a fatwa.
Right, he's not a religious leader.
Correct. To answer your question, the fatwa came from the Blind Sheik.
In 98.
In 1992. In 1992, he allowed, or he gave the permission that bombing the World Trade Center is not illicit.
Right. Some people blame him for 9/11, though. According to this website I just looked at, that there was another fatwa in 98 that was read to Al-Qaeda lawyers. It was smuggled out of prison. It was a fatwa that he wrote from prison. So,
exactly. You are absolutely on the dot in that, because unfortunately, the Blind Sheik was able to continue lead Al-Qaeda from his federal prison. And I raised a lot of hell about that. And unfortunately, they said that's his civil rights. We just allow him to call his wife. But because American way of thinking does not apply to the Egyptian or the Middle Eastern way of thinking, I told him, no, when he talked to his wife, he talked into certain coded words. You wouldn't understand it, I do. And what I know from Egypt, that his wife, when she was talking to him for 15 minutes, they put a microphone connected to his phone, and he speaks via internet broadcast to all of his followers all over the world from his federal prison.
Right.
And
but my question for you is, in 93, in the World Trade Center bombing, you made audio recordings of yourself speaking to John Antiseb, and you said that the FBI helped to build the bomb. Is that correct?
Well, it is not as you say it helped to build the bomb. I was the one who got the duty to build the bomb by Ibrahim al-Gabroni after he got the fatwa from the Blind Sheik. And Ibrahim al-Gabroni now serving 120 years in a federal prison for that crime, and he was one of the defendants I testified against in a federal court. So Ibrahim al-Gabroni gave me the order that he clarified the fatwa with the Blind Sheik, and we need to build a bomb. So it started with 12 pipe bombs, and then it went into Ibrahim al-Gabroni changed the plans, and these 12 bombs was planned to be put for Judge Duffy, who ruled against his Ibrahim al-Gabroni's cousin, El-Sayed Nasser, who assassinated Ma'ir Kahana.
I'm sorry. I got to go just get the door real quick. The FedEx is here. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
All right.
Okay, yeah, good. I'll take care of that later, and we can edit this and make it look professional. Cut that out a little bit.
Not a problem.
Okay, good.
Ibrahim al-Gabroni find out from the Blind Sheik that I am retired from the Egyptian military and I was serving in some of the units who is responsible about explosives and ammunitions. And this information, the Sheikh retrieved it from me personally in one of our trip to Detroit for fundraising. And the FBI was monitoring this trip between me and the Blind Sheik. We'll talk about that some other time. So Ibrahim al-Gabroni asked me, can you build a bomb? I said, yes, I can. And we started with the 12 bomb, and then he switched it. No, we need to make one bomb, big, very big. I said, okay. I got that duty, and then Ibrahim al-Gabroni's brother took me to visit Sayyid Nusayr in Attica prison as one of the Blind Sheikh's followers, because Sayyid Nusayr at that time got 20 years for a weapon possession because attorney William Consular succeeded to acquit him from the assassination charge against him. I went to Sayyid Nusayr. Sayyid Nusayr filled me up where to get the explosive, where to get the detonators, and where to get the fuse. And I came back with the information. I passed it to the FBI, and it was a point of break between me and Carson Danbar. Originally, I was an asset for the FBI, not an informant. As an asset, I am an intelligence asset, period. I don't appear in the picture. I don't testify in court. But when they find out that the issue came into bombs and building bombs and blowing targets inside the United States, Carson decided to wire me and go back to Attica prison to record Sayyid Nusayr. I said, if I will record, I'm willing to do that to verify and corroborate the information I am delivering, but I will not appear in court. I have family in Egypt. The Blind Sheik has thousands of people of his followers in Egypt, and that really jeopardizes my safety and my family's safety.
Right, and you've been in witness protection. You've had 15 different identities, and you're very careful these days about where you are. You haven't told me where you actually physically are right now.
No, of course not.
Right. So,
and I have to reroute my calls every time, so I cannot be traced via calls or via IP for my laptop.
Oh, that's good. Somebody asked me about that. Since we're friends on Facebook right now, they asked me why is he on Facebook if an IP is very trackable, but you have encryption on that, obviously.
No, the IP is being rerouted, and every time somebody will try to check on the IP, it raised a red flag at the bureau, and then they will be traced and questioned. And it happened once before.
Right.
It was a police officer who tried to do some tracing, and then he get caught, and the chief of the police got a phone call from the FBI, and he was reprehended, and so on.
Now, you've had assassination attempts on your life, and you're saying that the Blind Sheikh's followers are people that would want to kill you, but you've also had CIA attempts on your life. People inside the U.S. government have tried to kill you. Why is that?
Correct.
Why?
At a time, I was living with my family in one of the FBI safe houses before I testified in court against the Blind Sheik. As you said in your conversation, the Blind Sheik is the CIA's sponsored guy in America.
Right.
So their best interest that he will not be blemished in any way, shape, or form. And when the FBI went to Bill Clinton with the recording I had done for him, and he is giving me a fatwa to blow up one of the military facilities, Bill Clinton at that time went back to Janet Reno and gave her the green light to arrest the Blind Sheik, and they came up with the idea of arresting him on an immigration charge until they bring the tape into indictment under federal, what they call it, seditious conspiracy. At that time, Janet Reno gave the order and the Blind Sheik was arrested. The FBI was so alarmed. Sorry, the CIA was so alarmed that their guy is being caught on tape by an FBI asset by the name Emad Salem and so on. And there was a request from the CIA to meet with me in person. And fortunately for me, the FBI declined.
Declined. Yeah.
Yes, they declined to let the CIA to interview me in person. And the FBI started to really conceal my whereabouts, my wife, my son, my daughter. We were completely surrounded with the FBI SWAT team in numerous different locations, safe houses for the FBI, until one day, and I always moved with the SWAT team of the FBI until they felt that the dangerous is a little higher than usual. So they give an assignment for the HRT team for the FBI, the hostage rescue team, to take over the details of my security. So I never get to move except in private jets with the HRT team or the SWAT, the FBI SWAT team. And on that day, instead of I move with 4 or 5 motorcade cars, I find one single agent coming to tell me we're going to meet with the U.S. attorney. He want to talk to you.
Right, Andrew.
I said, okay,
Andrew McCarthy. Right.
Andrew McCarthy, yes.
Right.
I said, okay, we are leaving you and I only. Where is the details? And he said, well, we cannot move you with the details in open doors anymore.
You mean the detail, the SWAT team?
No, at that time was the HRT team.
Okay.
So, to be quite honest, I was so alarmed that one agent and myself in a Jeep, and I usually move in a closed window cars. Nobody can see that I am inside, but in that day, it was just a regular Jeep, open windows, and so I feel that that's the time I'm going to get assassinated. And I was not armed, unfortunately, but the agent was armed. And I'm a martial artist. I have black belt in martial arts. I thought, well, that's the best I can do. At least if he pulled his gun, then I have to fight for my life. But I asked him the question. I said, why we are only you and me in the car and without details? He said, unfortunately, we have to be careful because of the eye in the sky. I said, the eye in the sky. And then I thought for a minute and I realized that they are concerned about the satellite to trace my motorcade, and then the CIA will know where I am. I said, are you expecting that we might be attacked? He said, yes. Well, you are armed. What am I going to do if we got attacked? So at that time, I realized how serious the situation is, to the point that the FBI are concerned that the CIA will send assassination team or whatever if they find out where I was located. I am thankful to that agent. He succeeded to protect me. and deliver me safely to Andrew McCarthy, the U.S. attorney.
Right. Yesterday you talked about the FBI agents that at the ground level, kind of like the grunts, or what you called the humps, like the camels.
Well,
As opposed to the suits, as opposed to the higher ups, you felt that there was like a very different level of treatment from the higher ups. Let's talk a little bit more about Carson Dunbar, okay? I wrote about him and I wrote about you in this book, The Big Wedding. I published it actually 10 years ago. So it's funny that you contact me now. But Carson Dunbar also participated in the railroading of this guy, Richard Taus, who was in federal prison in Dannemora, his former FBI guy from the New York office. But Richard Taus got a little bit too close to Oliver North and the whole Iran-Contra operation, which has to do, of course, with the 80s and the early 90s and the Mujahideen and Israel and narcotics and weapons trafficking. But it seems that Carson Dunbar participated in the imprisonment, in the false accusations and the railroading into prison of this guy, Richard Taus. So it seems that Carson Dunbar, in your experience, why don't you tell us about your experience with Carson Dunbar, and who do you think he was working for?
I don't know. My primary information, he was an ASAC for the FBI in charge of the JTTF. But who is really he's working for, I wouldn't have that capacity to know. But if you tell me that Carson Dunbar got one of the FBI people in prison, this is not news for me, because that's exactly what he tried to do to me. Carson Dunbar, in my opinion, would have and should have stopped the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, because after I stopped from the continuation to build the bomb as per Ibrahim al-Gabroni's related instruction from the Blind Sheik, they sent me home. And the last thing I said to Carson Dunbar, I'm going to go home. But if the bomb got built by somebody else and it went off, don't come and knock on my door. At that time, Carson Dunbar knows who is Emad Salem, have pictures of him, have full fingerprints of him, who is Mahmoud Abu Halima, fingerprinted him, pictured him, who is Ibrahim al-Gabroni, and of course Said Nusayr was in prison. But the whole group who bombed actually the 1993 bombing had big files and big stack of paper of information I provided to Carson Dunbar prior to the bombing. And I walked out of his office saying, don't come and knock my door if they did it.
Right.
And I went home. I got bombarded by calls from Attica prison by El Sayed Nusayr. Why did you stop booking for the mosque? I said, well, I'm afraid that the FBI is following me now as an excuse to get out of the problem. But I continue to report to the FBI that Sayed Nusayr have an incoming call to my home from Attica prison, and you can corroborate that, and he want me to go back to continue cooking for the mosque, which of course means continue to build the bomb. I continued to step away. Mahmoud Abu Halima contacted me so many times. I brought it to the attention of my handlers in the FBI, and out of the sudden, I had no more knowledge. The main plan was that I build the bomb and we blow it up at the Christmas time to spoil it for America. That was the main plan, and I conveyed that to Carson Dunbar. He is fully aware of that. When I stepped out of building the bomb, the Blind Sheik sent the fax to Osama bin Laden, requested somebody else as a bomb builder. Osama bin Laden gave instruction to Ramzi Yousef, who came to America with Ahmad Aggag and another individual and they get stopped at the entry port in JFK, but they will let go because they didn't have any intelligence on them to stop them, but they got an immigration violation. They wanted to do a political asylum and so on. Ramzi Ahmad Yousef went immediately and picked up where I left in building the bomb. He got Muhammad Salama, Mahmoud Abu Halima, Muhammad Abu Halima, who's still walking on the streets of New Jersey today. And they continued to build the bomb. They rented the rider van. That's the only delay from December, which is Christmas time, into February 26, until the bomb was completed by Ramzi Ahmad Yousef, Mahmoud Abu Halima,
Right.
Muhammad Salama, and Muhammad Abu Halima.
Right, and we have our mutual friend Peter Lance, who has written many books, and I know you've interviewed with him, and you're in his books as well. And he talks about Ramzi Yousef was actually in Supermax prison in Colorado with Greg Scarpa Jr. acting as an informant, and so that the government had a lot of intelligence about Ramzi Yousef, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So let me kind of. I know you have to go in about 20 minutes, and you've got major interviews today. And I know that you're talking to the public now because you're concerned about the Blind Sheik possibly being exchanged in a diplomatic prisoner exchange. I did some research on that, so I know. It seems that President Barack Obama, has a CIA-linked background. His mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, was with the consulate in Lahore, Pakistan, and had young Obama there at age 18 and 19 at the creation of the whole, MAK and the Mujahideen and the whole CIA, ISI, Afghan, Soviet Civil War conflict, and all of that muck that we got mucked up in working with radical Islam and basically creating Al-Qaeda. It seems to me that Al-Qaeda was largely a CIA creation. And so
it is not a secret. The CIA was hiring agents to train Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan how to build bombs. Actually,
right.
When Ramzi Ahmad Yousef came back to build the bomb I didn't finish, he brought with him some of the CIA manuals to how to build bombs.
Aha, smoking gun.
Got caught. These manuals got caught from him in the immigration. And then later on, he requested this manual to be released, and the judge ruled it will be released, and he retrieved it, and that's how he built the first 1993 World Trade Center bombing. It's a bomb manual from the CIA. It's not a secret.
Aha.
And it is not a secret. There is so many things being revealed lately in a documentary being done by the French TV.
What's that called? I know you've talked about that. We should probably look at that together sometime. Or maybe I'll try to help get it on YouTube if it's not already on YouTube. What's the title?
No, it's not. It is not. I might be able to deliver it to you in one way or another. I don't think that anybody in the United States can watch that because it was never been broadcast in the United States. It's only been broadcasted in Germany because Germany is the mother of this French TV station. So this documentary, which is 2 hours about 9/11, they succeeded to interview John Antisib in the FBI. They succeeded to interview 3-4 agents from the CIA, the NSA, and you will be able to see these agents. And one of the surprising thing that Mr. Clark, who was one of the important figures in counterterrorism in the White House,
Richard Clark, Richard Clark, sure.
Richard Clark, yes. Was not informed about the knowledge of his superior. See, when you come to say if there is a corruption in the CIA, I will tell you that even among one agency, there is some law called need to know basis.
Right.
Richard Clark complained on camera in that interview that some of his superiors in the CIA knows about the presence of the 9/11 hijackers
Oh, yeah.
activity, and they never told him, to Richard Clark, because he is the one in charge of the counterterrorism.
Yeah, actually, I don't buy that. I think Richard Clark knew a lot that he's not saying, and I think that the intelligence that we had on Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar, two of the ringleaders, was a high level of intelligence, if not protection. They were living with an FBI informant in San Diego, who has subsequently been given a lot of cover-up money. These guys were protected from by the Pentagon from the Pentagon's own intelligence operation, Able Danger. According to Joe Trento, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were agents of Saudi intelligence. You know, I mean, like, let's face it. There's never been a collapse of steel-framed structures. You know, it's funny. Right now, I'm looking out over the Manhattan skyline. I have a great office here in Maspeth, Queens, and you can see the New World Trade Center is out there. But in the history of this beautiful steel-framed architecture, there's never been a collapse of steel-framed architecture due to fire, right? So let's cut to the chase here a little bit. You know, it seems that the three towers, not two, but the three towers that collapsed on 9/11, it looks like there was some sort of controlled demolition, and it wasn't the Blind Sheik who did the controlled demolition. I think that there's a case to be made, and it's being made by a nationwide army of activists who are saying that there is a case to be made that it looks like Al-Qaeda got help from the inside, that there was some sort of controlled demolition on the towers. What do you think about that?
I saw so many interviews to so many engineers and demolition engineers who give their expertise, and there is some fishy ideas roaming around. There is so many why the black boxes of the planes who hit the towers disappeared. If they were retrieved by some FBI people. There is so many questions around 9/11. It never been answered. Tower 7 was collapsed on its own due to, as per due to the expert report, the furniture fire. The furniture fire can never bring heat enough to melt steel.
Right.
So obviously there is something not been clear. And the commission of 9/11 never discussed Tower 7.
Right. That's very good. That's good. You know, you've done your homework on that. What about Mohammed Atta? Do you know? Does the name Wolfgang Boehringer ring a bell? Wolfgang Boehringer was going to be investigated. There was a bulletin from the Joint Terrorism Task Force about 5 or 6 years ago, and Wolfgang Boehringer was Mohammed Atta's drinking buddy. He was connected to CIA in some way and was seen.
That was in South Florida.
Yeah, right, down in Florida, exactly. Right, and so it looks like Mohammed Atta, I mean, you're an Egyptian, and Mohammed Atta was an Egyptian. Have you looked into Mohammed Atta's background?
Yes, I did. And yes, Mohammed Atta was a major player in the 9/11 attack. And the reason I looked at that, because I said, how come we couldn't get any intelligence to stop Mohammed Atta? But the result for what we did in 1993, Mohammed Atta was instructed to gather his conspiracy and cook it in Germany.
Ordered by who?
I don't know by who. Well, by Osama bin Laden, and Osama bin Laden got the green light from the Blind Sheik. Osama bin Laden can never give a fatwa to anybody to do major attacks such as the 9/11. But the Blind Sheik had blessed that order. Osama bin Laden passed it to Muhammad Atta. Muhammad Atta was careful because it might be another Emad Salem among the mosques. Because at the time I was undercover, I was not only infiltrating Al-Salam Mosque in New Jersey, that only one of the mosques.
Right, there was three of them, right?
There were 5 mosques.
Ah, okay.
And one of the mosques is Al-Mu'mineen Mosque, which is Imam Siraj Wahag is in charge of it.
Okay, we only have 10 minutes. We only have 10 minutes left, so I have a couple of other questions I wanted to run by you. It seems like you know a lot about 9/11, and it's great to talk to as somebody who's been inside the FBI. What do you know? Have you looked into Mossad, the Israeli connection? There was an arrest of several celebrating Israeli.
The van who is full of explosive.
Right, the moving van guys. There were guys from Israel who were videotaping the attacks, and they were holding up cigarette lighters like it's a rock concert, and they were high-fiving each other. And they were arrested by New Jersey state troopers, and then were released, and they got back to Israel, and they were on Israeli television. This is what really...
There are 2 different groups. The people who were high-fiving each other, watching the planes hitting, videotaping them, these people were not arrested, and they went back to Israel, and they submitted interviews to the Israeli TV, and they acknowledged that they were taping the interview, the bombing of the 1991 World Trade Center.
2001.
2001.
Right.
There is another group of 6 Israeli agents who were driving a white van on the Washington Bridge, and they've been stopped and got arrested, and then got released. Israel is so powerful in the United States. Nobody will deny that. And is Israel spying on the United States? Absolutely. I have an intimate knowledge of that.
Right, but it seems like Israel had a specific foreknowledge of the 9/11 attacks. So if Israel is spying on the United States, and Israel has foreknowledge of 9/11, doesn't that mean that logically that 9/11 was a U.S. operation? Maybe.
I couldn't really vouch for that, but there is people in our intelligence agencies, plural agencies,
right,
has knowledge of the dangers of 9/11. To what extent, I don't know. But the information was never passed to specific people. The information was never passed from the CIA to the FBI. It was a shocking event for the FBI, but I don't know about the CIA at that time.
Well, it wasn't all that shocking. I mean, you had whistleblowers down in Shreveport, Louisiana, like Dr. David M. Graham, who met Khalid al-Mihdhar and Fayed Banahamad 10 months before.
Dr. Graham got poisoned?
Yeah, exactly. I went down there, I talked to the FBI myself, and I found a high degree of discomfort, let's put it lightly. They were not happy to talk about this guy who had just died, who had died from a mysterious poisoning, and all of his friends felt that his connections to the FBI and trying to warn them before 9/11, he was trying to warn them before 9/11 about these terrorists. All of his friends felt that the FBI was responsible in some way for Graham's poisoning. So, and I mean, when you look at the clear pattern of connection between Khalid al-Mihdhar and the FBI in San Diego and the CIA, I think that the official story of they just didn't connect the dots. You know, there was too much of a security wall between the intelligence agencies. That official story begins to get pretty stale pretty fast. But since we only have about 7 minutes left, let me keep on driving forward here and asking you, what about the killing of bin Laden? Seymour Hersh, famous, one of the best reporters in the USA, says that the killing of bin Laden was false from top to bottom. Yeah.
There's so many rumors. I cannot corroborate. I don't have any first-hand knowledge about that because at that time I was not involved with anything. Is it true or not true? Because people said that he was killed by the way and put on ice, thrown out, and so all of these rumors I can corroborate in one way or another.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're having the same problem as we had yesterday around this time with distortion on the audio, and I know you have to go pretty soon. Just say one word. Say salam.
Well, salam alaikum, and I hope we pay attention for the release of the Blind Sheik before it's too late.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emad Salem, and we'll talk again soon. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. You're an intelligent man, and thank you for caring about the truth and loving the country.
Thank you, sir. It's
okay.
my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.